The letter trembled in my hands, its crisp edges cutting into my fingertips. 48 hours of back-to-back surgeries had left me running on fumes, but exhaustion vanished the moment I saw Brad's handwriting. My daughter Samantha stood in our kitchen, arms crossed, watching me with eyes that held too much knowledge for her 16 years. Dad said you'd be mad. Her voice carried that new edge I'd grown to hate, the one that appeared right after the divorce. I forced myself to breathe. When did this arrive? Yesterday. He told me not to mention it until you got home from your shift. Of course he did. Brad always did have perfect timing, waiting until I was at my weakest to strike. I scanned the legal document again, certain I must be hallucinating from fatigue. But no, the words remained unchanged. Full custody. My ex-husband was actually seeking full custody of our daughter. He says you're never home, Samantha continued, each word falling like an accusation. That being raised by a workaholic surgeon isn't stable. The irony might have made me laugh if it wasn't so infuriating. And living with an unemployed graphic designer who can't keep clients is stable? He's freelance, Mom. There's a difference. I set the letter down before I could crumple it into a ball. Sam, honey, you know why I work these hours. Someone has to pay for my college fund, for the house, for everything. I know. She pushed away from the counter. But maybe Dad's right. Maybe it would be better if what? The words came out sharper than intended. If you lived with the man who spent our entire marriage avoiding responsibility, who still owes 3 months of child support, at least he's there. Samantha's voice cracked. He makes time for me. When was the last time we had dinner together? A real dinner, not just takeout between your surgeries? The question hit like a physical blow. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but the truth stuck in my throat. When was the last time? 2 weeks ago? 3? My phone buzzed, Megan's name lighting up the screen, probably checking how my marathon shift went. I ignored it. Sam, please, let's talk about this. I reached for her, but she stepped back. I have homework. She turned away, pausing at the kitchen doorway. Dad wants to meet tomorrow to discuss the arrangement. He says his lawyer will be there. The room spun slightly. His lawyer? At the coffee shop near his place, 4 o'clock. She glanced back, and for a moment, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. He said to tell you it doesn't have to get ugly, that if you agree to the terms, everything can be simple. Simple. Nothing about Brad had ever been simple. I watched my daughter disappear upstairs, her footsteps heavy with teenage angst and divided loyalties. The house fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the pounding of my heart. My phone buzzed again. This time, I picked it up. Tell me you're home and alive, Megan said when I answered. I'm home. I stared at the letter on the counter. But I'm not sure about alive. That bad of a shift? The shift was fine. 3 successful surgeries, 2 lives saved. I traced Brad's signature with my finger. But I just got home to find out my ex-husband is trying to take my daughter. The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. I'll be there in 20 minutes with wine. Make it 15, I said, already calculating how many hours of sleep I could sacrifice to prepare for tomorrow's ambush. And Megan, bring the expensive stuff. Something tells me I'm gonna need it. I hung up and picked up the letter again, reading it one more time. Brad always did underestimate me. He thought exhaustion and guilt would make me an easy target, but he'd forgotten one crucial detail. I didn't become a pediatric surgeon by backing down from a fight. Tomorrow he'd learn exactly what kind of opponent he'd created. The coffee shop's exposed brick walls seemed to close in with each passing minute. Brad sat across from me, his lawyer a stern presence at his side, while my own attorney scribbled notes beside me. The meeting had started 15 minutes ago, But we'd spent most of that time in charged silence, interrupted only by the hiss of the espresso machine. You look tired, Eliana. Brad's voice carried that familiar concerned tone he'd perfected over the years. Those hospital hours really taking their toll? I caught his game immediately. Everything on record, everything designed to paint a picture. I look exactly like someone who saves children's lives for a living, Brad. Let's skip the small talk. His lawyer cleared his throat. We've prepared a reasonable proposal for custody arrangements that takes into account Dr. Matthews' demanding schedule. You mean my successful career? I leaned forward, the one that's put food on our table for the past decade. Brad's smile tightened. No one's questioning your success, honey. We're just concerned about Samantha's emotional well-being. Don't call me honey. The words came out like ice. And don't pretend this is about Samantha's well-being when you haven't paid child support in 3 months. Actually, Brad's lawyer interjected, sliding a document across the table. We have evidence suggesting Dr. Matthews' work schedule has resulted in numerous missed family events and I have copies of every school event I've attended, I cut in, along with records of every time Brad claimed he couldn't make it because of client meetings that mysteriously never resulted in actual work. Brad's jaw clenched. This isn't about me, isn't it? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through messages. Should we discuss the text you sent Samantha last week? The one where you told her I chose my career over her? That was a private conversation with my daughter, who's 16 and increasingly anxious because her father is manipulating her emotions. I turned to his lawyer. Did he mention that part? The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Brad's face flushed red. You always do this. Turn everything around. Make it about my failures. Dr. Matthews, my lawyer warned quietly, but I was already standing. You want to talk about failures? My voice stayed low, controlled. Let's talk about how you spent 3 years building your portfolio while I worked double shifts. Or how about the time Samantha needed braces and you suddenly couldn't contribute because you were between projects? This is exactly why we're concerned, Brad's lawyer jumped in. Your aggressive attitude is nothing compared to his passive manipulation. I gathered my things. You want to fight, Brad? Fine. But remember, I cut people open for a living. I know exactly where to make it hurt. I walked out, my heels clicking against the hardwood floor, leaving behind a stunned silence. Outside, the autumn air hit my face, and I took my first real breath in what felt like hours. My phone buzzed, a text from Samantha. How did it go? Before I could respond, another message appeared. Dad says you stormed out. Of course he'd already contacted her. I typed carefully. We can talk about it when I get home. Love you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, working late again? The question felt like a trap. I had a surgery scheduled in 2 hours, a 6-year-old with a congenital heart defect. Her parents had been waiting months for this slot. Yes, I wrote back, but I'll be home for dinner tomorrow, promise. No response. My phone rang, Megan's name flashing on the screen. Well, she asked when I answered. How bad was it? Remember when you said I shouldn't let him provoke me? I started walking toward my car. I may have threatened him with surgical precision. Eliana, I know, but you should have seen him, Megan, acting concerned about Samantha while simultaneously poisoning her against me. What's your next move? I reached my car, but didn't get in. He's been spreading rumors at Samantha's school. I need to know what he's been saying, who he's been talking to. And how exactly? Remember Derek, the architect I've been seeing? The hot one who designed the new pediatric wing? What about him? His daughter goes to the same school. I smiled, an idea forming. I think it's time I started attending more parent functions. Elle, be careful. Brad's already painting you as unstable, which is exactly why I'm going to be the model of stability. I got into my car, while quietly discovering exactly what kind of web he's been weaving. And Samantha? My smile faded. That's the tricky part. I need to fix this without making her feel like another battlefield. You will, Megan said softly. You're a better parent than he'll ever be. I started the engine, checking the time. Thanks, Meg. I've got to go save a life now. But later, we're planning war. The parent-teacher conference buzzed with the usual mix of anxiety and forced politeness. I navigated through clusters of chatting parents, Derek's steady presence beside me, until Mrs. Chen's familiar voice cut through the noise. Dr. Matthews, what a surprise! Her tone carried an edge I'd never heard before. We didn't expect you given your schedule. I always make time for what's important. I smiled, noting how she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. How's Samantha doing in AP Chemistry? Mrs. Chen shuffled some papers. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Of course. I turned to Derek. Would you mind? Actually, Mrs. Chen interrupted, Mr. Harrison, Samantha's father, requested to be present for any parent-teacher discussions. The pieces clicked together. Did he now? And when exactly did my ex-husband become so involved in Samantha's academics? He's been very concerned lately. She glanced around nervously. About Samantha's home environment. I bet he has. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. What exactly has Brad been telling you? Dr. Matthews. Because I'd love to hear why my daughter's grades dropped right after he started showing up here regularly. Derek touched my arm. Elle, maybe we should… No. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through messages. Here's what I think happened. Brad started dropping by, probably during lunch hours when he should have been working. He told you all about his concerns for Samantha, living with her workaholic mother. Did he mention the prescription drugs? Mrs. Chen's eyes widened. He said you take them to stay awake during surgeries? That's what he's telling people, isn't it? I placed my phone on her desk, displaying a series of text messages. These are from Brad to Samantha. Notice the timestamps, all during school hours. He's been feeding her stories about me, then coming here to reinforce them. I didn't realize… Of course not. Brad's very good at what he does. I straightened up. But here's what you should know. I've never taken drugs. I have quarterly medical screenings to prove it. What I do have is a successful career saving children's lives, while my ex-husband hasn't held a steady job in years. The classroom door opened. Brad stood there, his timing perfect as always. Eliana, what are you doing here? Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. I turned to face him. Since when do you attend parent-teacher conferences? Since our daughter needed stability. He stepped in, closing the door. Mrs. Chen, I apologize for this interruption. Don't apologize for me, Brad. I moved closer, aware of Derek tensing behind me. Tell her the truth instead, about the missed child support payments, the manipulation, the lies. You're proving my point about stability. His smile was razor sharp. Having another episode? Episode? Mrs. Chen echoed. Don't. My voice dropped dangerously low. Don't you dare. It's okay, honey. Brad's concern was theatrical. We all understand the pressure you're under. Something snapped. I pulled up another message on my phone and held it up. Read it, Mrs. Chen. Brad's text to Samantha last week, telling her to record me if I act weird again. Part of building his case for custody. Brad's face darkened. That's private? Like the rumors you've been spreading here are private? I turned to Mrs. Chen. Check your records. Every absence, every missed assignment, they all coincide with Brad's increased involvement. He's not helping Samantha. He's sabotaging her to get to me. That's enough. Brad reached for my phone. Derek stepped between us. Touch her, and this gets much worse. The room crackled with tension. Mrs. Chen stood, clearly uncomfortable. Perhaps we should reschedule. No need. I gathered my things. I've made my point. But Mrs. Chen, next time my ex-husband shares his concerns, ask yourself why a father would deliberately hurt his daughter's education just to spite his ex-wife. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Brad, those quarterly medical screenings I mentioned, they're public record. Feel free to check them. Unlike some people's freelance portfolio, they actually exist. Outside, Derek caught up with me. That was intense. It's going to get worse. I stopped walking, my hands shaking slightly. He's been playing this game for months, poisoning everyone against me. The school, our friends, Samantha. So, what's our next move? I watched through the classroom window as Brad spoke urgently to Mrs. Chen, his charm working overtime to repair the damage. Now? I took Derek's hand, squeezing it gently. Now we go nuclear. Call your daughter. I need to know everything Brad's been saying at student events. And then? I smiled grimly. Then we're going to give him exactly what he wants, a public spectacle, just not the one he's expecting. Megan's office felt like a confessional, sterile, and safe. I sat in her visitor's chair, turning my phone over and over in my hands while she reviewed the latest email from my lawyer. He's requesting a psychological evaluation? Megan's voice carried disbelief. On what grounds? Apparently, my erratic behavior at the parent-teacher conference raises concerns about my mental stability. I set the phone down before I could throw it. Brad's been laying this groundwork for months. The rumors about prescription drugs, the suggestions about my work hours affecting my judgment. That manipulative bastard. Megan leaned forward. But you can fight this, right? A knock interrupted us. Derek stood in the doorway, his face grim. We need to talk. Now. My stomach dropped. What happened? He closed the door behind him. My daughter just called. Samantha's in the principal's office. She had a panic attack during class. What? I grabbed my purse. Why didn't they call me? Because Brad was already there when it happened. Derek's jaw tightened. He's been having lunch with her at school 3 times a week. Did you know? The betrayal hit like a physical blow. No, she told me she was studying with friends. There's more. He hesitated. The school counselor wants to meet with both parents. Brad's convinced them Samantha's anxiety stems from instability at home. Of course he has. I sank back into the chair. He's been planning this all along. Every move, every conversation, building up to this moment. Megan touched my arm. Elle, maybe it's time to consider a different approach? I stood up, pacing. What approach? If I fight back legally, he uses it as evidence of my instability. If I back off, he gains more control. If I try to expose him, he twists it to his advantage. Then maybe, Derek spoke carefully, maybe we need to let him win. What? Hear me out. He wants control, right? So give it to him, temporarily. Let him think he's winning while we gather real evidence. Megan nodded slowly. He'll get sloppy if he thinks he's succeeded. No. The word came out sharp. I won't let him think he's broken me. I won't. My phone buzzed. Samantha's text. Mom, please don't be mad. Another buzz. Dad says you need help. Maybe he's right. The room spun slightly. I gripped the back of the chair, reading the messages again. My daughter, my brilliant, perceptive daughter, now believed I was unstable. Elle? Megan's voice seemed distant. What do you want to do? I looked up at Derek, then back at Megan. I want to destroy him. That's not an answer, Derek said quietly. No? I pulled up my calendar. Watch me. First, I'm going to that counselor meeting. I'll play exactly the role Brad's created, the overworked, emotional mother. I'll agree to the psychological evaluation. I'll even tear up a little. And then I'm calling in every favor I've earned in this hospital, every nurse who's covered my shifts when Samantha was sick, every colleague who's witnessed Brad's negligence firsthand, every parent of every child I've saved who's seen me balance motherhood with saving lives. Understanding dawned in Megan's eyes. You're going to build your own narrative. Better. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I'm going to let Brad destroy his own. Because here's what he doesn't know. I've been recording everything. Every manipulative text, every missed payment, every lie he's told Samantha about me. And soon, very soon, our daughter's going to see exactly who her father really is. That could backfire, Derek warned. Samantha might not forgive either of you. Maybe. I gathered my things. But I'd rather have her hate me for telling the truth than love me for playing along with lies. My phone buzzed again. The hospital. Another emergency surgery. Perfect timing, I muttered. Brad will love this. Want me to go to the school? Megan offered. No. I straightened my coat. I'm going to do exactly what Brad expects. Choose work over family. Let him think his plan is working. Let him believe he's winning. At the door, I paused. But first, I'm going to save a child's life. Because that's what unstable, unfit mothers do, right? We just keep right on saving lives while plotting our revenge. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, leaving silence in my wake. It was time to show Brad that some surgeons were equally skilled at removal and reconstruction, whether it was damaged hearts or carefully constructed lies. Derek's daughter, Emma, sat across from me in the hospital cafeteria, nervously shredding a napkin. Dad's gonna kill me for telling you this. No, he won't. I pushed my untouched coffee aside. What exactly did you hear? It wasn't just what I heard. She pulled out her phone. I started recording stuff after Dad told me what was happening. Mr. Harrison, Brad, he's been talking to everyone at school. Parents, teachers, even some students. My hands clenched under the table. Show me. The video was grainy, shot from behind a row of lockers. Brad stood with two other parents, his voice carrying that familiar concerned tone. Really worried about Samantha. The other night, Eliana showed up at 3 a.m., completely erratic, started screaming about conspiracies. That never happened. The words came out sharp enough to make Emma flinch. There's more. She swiped to another video. This time, Brad was with a teacher. The prescription drugs are just the beginning. Last week, she forgot to pick up Samantha because she was too out of it. The cafeteria light suddenly felt too bright. When was this? Last Tuesday, the day Sam had her panic attack. My phone buzzed, a text from Samantha. Staying at Dad's tonight. Need space. Another buzz followed. Maybe you should talk to someone. Dad knows a good therapist. Of course he did. I bet the therapist knew all about my episodes already. Dr. Matthews? Emma's voice pulled me back. There's something else. Yesterday, I overheard him on the phone talking about some kind of investment scheme. Something about using Samantha's college fund. The world stopped spinning for a moment. What? He was arguing with someone about access to accounts, said something about temporary borrowing and guaranteed returns. My coffee cup shattered in my grip, sending lukewarm liquid across the table. A nearby nurse rushed over with napkins, but I barely noticed. Emma, I need those recordings. My voice sounded distant, even to myself. All of them. I already sent them to Dad. She helped mop up the coffee. But Dr. Matthews, Mr. Harrison saw me filming yesterday. He smiled and waved. Ice slid down my spine. He what? Like he wanted me to record him. She lowered her voice. Dad says it might be a trap. My phone buzzed again. An email from Brad's lawyer requesting an emergency hearing about temporary custody. The timestamp matched exactly when Emma had been filming him yesterday. He's playing us. The realization hit like a physical blow. He wanted us to gather evidence. Now he can claim I'm stalking him, using Derek's daughter to spy. Emma's eyes widened. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. It's not your fault. I stood up, already dialing Derek's number. But I need you to delete those recordings right now. All of them. But now, Emma, please. She complied, but her hands shook. What are you going to do? The answer came with surprising clarity. I'm going to give Brad exactly what he wants, a public meltdown, just not the kind he's expecting. Derek answered on the first ring. Elle, what's wrong? Remember that charity gala next week? The one where Brad's new client is receiving an award? Yeah, but get me an invitation. I watched Emma delete the last video. It's time to show Brad that if he wants to destroy someone's reputation, he should pick someone who doesn't know where all his bodies are buried. Eliana, wait. I hung up, turning back to Emma. Thank you for telling me. Now go home and forget everything you've seen. If anyone asks, especially Brad, you never spoke to me. She nodded, gathering her things. At the cafeteria door, she paused. Dr. Matthews, Dad says you save kids' lives every day. Maybe that's what really scares Mr. Harrison, that you're stronger than he is. After she left, I sat alone, staring at the coffee stains on the table. My phone kept buzzing. Samantha, Derek, Megan, Brad's lawyer. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the memory of Brad's smile as Emma filmed him. He thought he had all the pieces in place, every move calculated, but he'd forgotten something crucial. I didn't just fix broken hearts in the operating room. Sometimes I had to break them first to save the patient, and Brad's carefully constructed world was about to go into cardiac arrest. The charity gala sparkled with false promises and designer dresses. I adjusted my black evening gown, feeling the USB drive press against my ribs where I'd hidden it in my bra. Across the ballroom, Brad worked the crowd, his new client hanging on every word. Are you sure about this? Derek whispered, his hand steady on my lower back. He's using Samantha's college fund for some investment scheme. My champagne glass trembled slightly. Our daughter's future, Derek. That's where I draw the line. Mom? I turned to find Samantha standing behind us, wearing a blue dress I'd never seen before. Brad must have bought it for her. What are you doing here? The question came out sharper than intended. Dad invited me. Her eyes narrowed. He said you might try something tonight. Of course he did. I set down my champagne. Sam, there are things you don't understand. Like how you hired Emma to spy on Dad? She stepped closer, voice low. He showed me the evidence, the recordings, the photos. How could you? The room tilted slightly. That's not what happened. Save it. She pulled out her phone, showing me a series of messages, conversations between Brad and his lawyer about my harassment campaign. Dad's filing a restraining order tomorrow. He says it's the only way to protect me. Protect you? My laugh sounded hollow. Samantha, he's stealing from you. Your college fund is being invested. Brad's voice cut through the conversation as he appeared behind our daughter. I was going to surprise you both next week. The returns are guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. I reached for my purse, where I kept copies of his shady dealings. Except maybe how you'll manage to lose everything just like last time? Brad's smile was razor sharp. When I lost our savings on that startup, the time you never let me forget about, he turned to Samantha. See what I mean about her instability, the paranoia? Derek stepped forward. That's enough. Actually, Brad pulled out his phone. Perfect timing. Security? Yes, she's here, just like I warned you she might be. Two men in black suits approached. One spoke into his earpiece. Dr. Matthews, we need you to come with us. What? I looked around, suddenly aware of the watching crowd. This is ridiculous. Mom, please. Samantha's voice cracked. Don't make a scene. Just go. Listen to our daughter, Brad said softly. Before you do something else, you'll regret. The USB drive felt like it was burning against my skin. One move and I could expose everything: the fraudulent investments, the manipulated messages, the calculated destruction of my reputation. But Samantha's eyes held something worse than anger now: fear. She was afraid of me. Okay? The word tasted like defeat. I'll go. Derek tried to follow, but I stopped him. Stay with Sam. The security guards escorted me through the whispers and stares, past colleagues who wouldn't meet my eyes, past Brad's triumphant smile. In the lobby, one guard spoke quietly. Dr. Matthews, we have instructions to contact the authorities if you return. Please don't make this difficult. Outside, the night air hit like a slap. My phone buzzed, a message from Samantha. Dad's right. You need help. Please get help. Another buzz. Brad had tagged me in a social media post about the incident, expressing his deep concern for my well-being and asking for prayers during this difficult time. The final buzz was an email from the hospital board requesting an immediate meeting about my recent behavior. I stood alone on the sidewalk, watching through the window as Brad hugged our daughter, playing the concerned father perfectly. He'd orchestrated everything: the recordings, the witnesses, the security. He'd known I'd try to expose him tonight and turned it into the final proof of my instability. My phone buzzed again, Megan calling. I ignored it, along with the tears threatening to fall. Crying wouldn't help. Nothing would help now. Brad had won. A car pulled up, Derek's. He must have followed despite my warning, but I turned away, starting to walk. Eliana, wait! Go back to Samantha, I called over my shoulder. She needs someone stable in her life. His footsteps faded as I walked into the darkness, still wearing my evening gown, still carrying the evidence that now seemed worthless. The USB drive pressed against my heart like a reminder of everything I'd lost. But somewhere between the tears and the anger, a new thought formed. Sometimes a surgeon had to let the heart stop completely before bringing it back stronger than before. And my heart, it had just flatlined. 3 days after the gala disaster, I sat in my empty house, staring at resignation papers from the hospital board when my phone lit up with an unknown number. Mom? Samantha's voice crackled with static. Can you hear me? Sam, what's wrong? I'm at Dad's office. I needed his laptop for a school project, but... She paused, breathing heavily. Mom, there are emails about the college fund, about everything. My heart stopped. Where's your father? Meeting with investors. Mom, he lost it. All of it. And there's more. Recordings of him coaching people what to say about you. Payments to his lawyer to fabricate evidence. Samantha, listen carefully. Don't touch anything else. I'm coming. No time. Keys clicked in the background. I'm forwarding everything to you now. But Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have... The line went dead. My phone buzzed immediately. Dozens of emails flooding in, bank statements, conversations, evidence of Brad's elaborate scheme to destroy me while stealing our daughter's future. Another buzz. Brad. My office, now, alone. I grabbed my keys, but before I could reach the door, another text. Tell anyone where you're going, and Samantha learns what really happened the night you lost that patient last year. The night I'd been cleared of any wrongdoing. The night Brad had apparently been gathering ammunition. I drove through rain-slicked streets, my mind racing. Brad's office occupied the top floor of a renovated warehouse, all exposed brick and industrial chic, perfect for impressing clients he never kept. The elevator doors opened to darkness. Only his office light burned at the end of the hall, a beacon drawing me in. Brad sat behind his desk, Samantha's phone in front of him. Our daughter stood by the window, tears streaming down her face. "Delete them," he said without looking up. "The emails?" I stayed in the doorway. "Little late for that. All copies, now." He finally met my eyes. "Or I release the story about your negligence last year. Your career's hanging by a thread already. One push." "You really want to talk about negligence?" I stepped forward. "After stealing your daughter's future?" "I was protecting her future." He stood suddenly, making Samantha flinch. "Everything I did was to get her away from you. By destroying me? By making her think I was unstable? You are unstable, a workaholic surgeon who paid every bill while you chased get-rich-quick schemes." I moved closer. "Who covered your mistakes? Who protected Samantha while you played victim?" "Stop it." His face reddened. "Samantha, tell her. Tell her how much better things have been with me." But Samantha wasn't looking at either of us. She was looking at her phone, her real phone, which she'd pulled from her pocket while Brad focused on me. "Actually, Dad," she held up the device, "I think I have something else to tell." The blood drained from Brad's face. "What are you doing?" "Recording, just like you taught me." Her voice shook but held firm. "I've been recording everything. Every conversation where you coached me what to say about Mom. Every time you bragged about destroying her reputation. Everything." "Samantha." "I sent copies to Mom's lawyer 10 minutes ago." She moved away from the window, toward me. "It's over, Dad." Brad lunged for her phone, but I stepped between them. "Touch her, and your reputation won't be the only thing that needs surgery." He froze, then laughed, a hollow sound. "You really think anyone will believe you after everything?" "They'll believe the evidence." Samantha's voice cracked. "The real evidence, not your edited versions." "I did this for you." He slammed his hands on the desk. "Everything was for you." "No." She grabbed my hand. "Everything was for you. It always was." We left him there, surrounded by his schemes and lies. In the elevator, Samantha collapsed against me, sobbing. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have seen it sooner." I held her close, feeling her shake. "You saw it exactly when you needed to." My phone buzzed, the hospital board requesting an urgent meeting about new evidence coming to light. Samantha looked up at me. "What happens now?" "Now?" I wiped her tears away. "Now we rebuild, together." The elevator doors opened to rain-washed streets and the first hints of dawn. Behind us, in his tower of lies, Brad faced the consequences of his greatest manipulation, underestimating the daughter he claimed to protect. Sometimes revenge wasn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it was simply about letting the truth speak for itself. The hospital boardroom felt different this morning, warmer somehow, despite the October rain drumming against the windows. I sat between Derek and Megan as the board reviewed the last of Brad's exposed lies. "Dr. Matthews," the chief of surgery closed his folder. "I believe we owe you an apology." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Samantha. "Dad's trying to call again. Should I answer?" I typed back. "Your choice. Always your choice now." The board continued their formal reinstatement speech, but my attention drifted to the window, where a young mother cradled her child in the parking lot below. Yesterday's surgery had saved her daughter's heart, a complex repair that required breaking things to fix them. "There's one more matter," the chief added. "Your ex-husband's client list included several hospital board members' companies. Given the evidence of his financial improprieties, there may be legal implications." "I'm a surgeon," I said quietly. "I fix hearts. What happens to Brad isn't my concern anymore." My phone buzzed again. "Samantha. He says he can explain everything. that he did it because he loves me. Derek squeezed my hand under the table as I replied, "Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes it's just another word for control." The meeting ended with handshakes and awkward apologies. In the hallway, Megan pulled me aside. "Brad's lawyer called. He's offering a deal. He'll sign away all parental rights if you drop the criminal charges." "That's not my decision." I checked my phone. Samantha had gone silent. "Those charges came from his investors, not me." "Elle," Megan hesitated. "Are you sure you're okay with how this ended? It feels almost too easy." "Easy?" I laughed, but there was no bitterness now. He lost everything trying to destroy me. His reputation, his clients, his relationship with Samantha. That's not ease, that's karma. Speaking of karma, Derek appeared with his tablet. Brad's latest social media post is interesting. I glanced at the screen, a long, rambling confession about mental health struggles and seeking help. The comments section overflowed with support from people who didn't know the truth. Let him have his narrative. I handed back the tablet. Some people need lies to survive. I don't anymore. My phone buzzed one final time. Samantha again. "I told Dad I can't see him for a while, that I need time." He started crying, said he never meant to hurt anyone. "Want me to come pick you up?" I texted back. "No, Emma's mom is driving me to your place. Dad kept saying he did everything for me, but I think he did it all for himself." Is that weird to finally understand? No, honey, that's called growing up. In the hospital lobby, Derek pulled me close. "Your daughter's pretty amazing, you know." "She is." I watched the rain slow to a drizzle. She recorded everything because she needed to know the truth, not just about Brad, but about herself, about what she's capable of. "Like mother, like daughter," Megan said softly. My pager buzzed. Emergency surgery needed. Another heart requiring careful hands to break and rebuild it. "Go," Derek smiled. "Save a life. We'll handle dinner with Samantha." As I headed to the OR, my phone lit up with one last message from Brad. "I never meant for any of this to happen. Please, can we talk?" I deleted it without responding. Some hearts couldn't be fixed. Some shouldn't be. In the surgical prep room, I caught my reflection in the mirror. No more shadows under my eyes. No more weight of his manipulation pressing down. Just a surgeon ready to do what she did best, repair what was broken. But as I scrubbed in, I thought about Brad's social media confession, about how easily people believed what they wanted to believe. Maybe that was his real punishment, spending the rest of his life pretending to be someone he wasn't, while Samantha and I lived honestly with who we were. "Dr. Matthews?" A nurse poked her head in. "Patient's ready." I nodded, feeling the familiar calm settle over me. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, helping Samantha heal, rebuilding trust, finding balance. But right now, in this moment, there was just a heart that needed saving, and that, at least, was something I knew how to do.